He lifted his hand to salute, and the young airman stepped back and wouldn't return it. For a heartbeat, everything in me went quiet. 1,000 thoughts rushed in at once, and none of them made sense. Johnny Depp stood there, polite and steady. The airman's eyes were hard, then soft, then full. People around us made small sounds. I swear I felt the moment crack. I didn't plan to follow the airman that night. I wasn't there to make a story out of anyone. I had promised myself I was just going to show up, clap when it was right, and go home. No drama, no deep feelings. But when I saw that simple thing, a celebrity offering respect and a young service member shaking his head, something grabbed my heart and held on. Maybe it was because my brother used to salute the television as a joke when we were kids. Maybe it was because years later, when he came back from his first deployment, I watched him stand beside a folded flag and choose his salutes like they were something sacred. Maybe it was because I had carried that memory like a stone in my pocket ever since. I don't know. I just knew I couldn't leave it alone. It had been a night full of noise. A fundraiser for families, that's what I was told. A place to raise money and raise spirits at the same time. People came to give thanks, to be seen, to remember. Johnny showed up. He did what most people with big names do at these things. He smiled, he said kind things. He moved through the endless line of hands and faces and stories. No one expected anything weird. And then it happened. He reached the airman, lifted his hand in a simple salute, and the airman lowered his eyes and spoke so low I barely heard him. I saw his lips move. He said with respect, "I can't." Johnny let his hand fall. He didn't argue. He didn't push. He said something like, "It's okay," and offered a handshake instead. The airman kept his hands at his sides. There was no scene, no shouting, no drama. Just a quiet refusal that cut the room in two. People started whispering. My chest tightened. Part of me wanted to defend the airman. Part of me wanted to defend Johnny. It felt like watching a door shut in slow motion, knowing there was another door behind it. I couldn't see yet. I looked at the airman's face. It was pale and tired, like he hadn't slept in days. I wanted to ask 1,000 questions. I told myself to let it go. I didn't. I found him a few minutes later. He had stepped away from the crowded area. He was standing by himself, shoulders squared, like he had to hold the weight of something I couldn't name. He wasn't crying. He wasn't angry. He was just quiet in a way that felt loud. I walked up and said his name, even though I didn't know it. I said, "Hey," like we were old friends. My voice sounded calm, even though my heart wasn't. "Are you okay?" I asked. He looked up, blinking slow. He had clear eyes. He seemed young and too old at the same time. He nodded once, then shook his head. "I can't do it," he said. "Not tonight." "What can't you do?" I asked. I wasn't trying to push. I just needed to understand why that moment felt like a tear in fabric that had been too tight for too long. He glanced back toward the sound of the room. "Return a salute I didn't earn tonight," he said, very soft. "Not from him, not from anyone. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make anything weird." "You didn't," I said. Even as I said it, I knew that wasn't true. People were going to talk. People were going to pick sides. I could already feel the heat of it. The phones had come out the second they saw Johnny. That wasn't new. But the phones had stayed up. Someone would upload that clip. It would be out of our hands in minutes. He slid his eyes back to mine and took a breath that shuddered. "I made a promise," he said. "To who?" I asked, and then I realized I was asking too much from a stranger and I started to pull back. But he kept going. "My best friend," he said. He asked me for something simple. I told him I would do it. Something pulled at me. Words stuck in my throat. I knew that tone. I had heard it in my brother's voice when he talked about people he would never see again. I knew that look, like there was a room behind his eyes where he could not turn on the light. "I'm sorry," I said. "Do you want water? Do you want to sit down?" "I can't sit," he said. He touched his chest like something there hurt. "If I sit, I'm not getting back up. I have to go soon." "Go where?" I asked. He looked at me and there was a question in his face, like he was trying to decide if I was safe. Miles of distance opened up inside that small space where we stood and then closed again. Base, he said. I'm on the night detail. I shouldn't even be here. They told me I could stop in for 20 minutes if I wanted, if I needed a minute to breathe. I thought I did. Now I think I was wrong. Why? I asked. My voice was paper thin. He glanced at his watch. Because he comes home tonight. Your friend? He nodded. Yes. The word hit me like a soft punch. It landed in the center of my ribs. I took a step back and then forward. I don't know why I did that. Sometimes the body moves before the mind knows what to do. Will you tell me his name? I asked. You don't have to. You can tell me to leave you alone. I'll listen. He took another breath. Eli, he said. Staff Sergeant Eli Carter. Eli. I repeated. The name felt steady in my mouth. I'm honored just to say it out loud. I'm so sorry. He swallowed and blinked. He said, save me a salute, okay? When I come home, don't waste it on anything else. We laughed when he said it. It was a joke at first. Then it wasn't. Silence settled between us like a soft blanket, no one asked for. He opened his hand and I saw a ring. It was simple, thin, worn smooth. He held it like it might fall through his fingers if he relaxed even a little. Next to it was a folded piece of paper with soft edges, the kind of fold you make over and over when you've held something too long. I promised, he said again. I promised I would carry this back to his mom before I raised my hand for anything else. I promised my next salute would be for him, and for her. That's why you stepped back. I said. I felt tears building in my throat, which is a strange place to keep them. It wasn't about disrespect. He shook his head. It was about respect. I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at anyone. Johnny didn't do anything wrong. I just couldn't lift my hand. Not before I keep my word. He said it so simply. No anger, no drama. He just stood there in this bubble of truth while the whole outside world spun itself into noise. That makes sense. I said. It makes more than sense. It's sacred. He glanced down at the ring again. I told her I'd look for her tonight. They said she might come. Teresa Carter. Do you know her? Do you know where she is? My mouth answered before my brain. I can help you find her. He blinked. Why? Because we ask too much of you. I thought. Because we make you stand straight when you are breaking. Because a simple thing like a salute can carry the weight of a whole world. Because I needed that small act to matter tonight. Even if nothing else did. Out loud I said. Because we should help each other. Okay, he said, and released the smallest breath. Thank you. We moved back toward the noise of the room. We didn't speak right away. He kept close, like he was afraid he would disappear if he drifted too far. I was afraid of the same thing. I wanted to put a hand on his arm and tell him I couldn't fix anything, but I wasn't going to let him do this alone. I didn't. I just walked. I kept him in my line and I kept him in my heart. In the noisier part of the night, I heard all the things people say when they don't know what they've seen. I heard someone say, how rude. I heard someone else say, he should be grateful. I heard a third voice snap back. You don't know what he's walking with. They were all so sure. They had quick answers that made the world tidy. I didn't. I had an airman at my side, and a ring that needed to find its way back to a mother's hand. I asked a few people if they had seen Teresa Carter. I said it in a gentle way. I used her name like a prayer. I was met with shrugs and helpless looks and a few words that I won't repeat. Then a woman touched my shoulder. Her face was open and her voice was a quiet bell. She stepped out, she said. She needed some air. Where? I asked. The woman pointed with her chin. Just over there, I think. She said she'd be right back. I can go get her. I looked up at the airman. He nodded. Please, he said. I didn't follow the woman. I waited with him. In the waiting he told me pieces he hadn't said yet. He told me that he and Eli had met on a bad day and laughed anyway. He told me Eli could fix any problem with duct tape and a joke. He told me that he hated flying and loved it both. And that he always held his breath when the wheels left the ground, like he could keep the plane up with his lungs if he had to. He told me that the last thing Eli said to him was a dumb joke about shaving cream, and that he had laughed so hard he cried. And then he hung up, and 2 days later the world changed. He told me that he wasn't angry at the universe, even if sometimes he wanted to be. He told me that he believed in promises. Small ones that sound like nothing when you say them quiet, but hold your whole life when you hold them tight. He told me that he had almost raised his hand to return Johnny's salute. His arm had lifted a little on instinct, and then it was like something gentle and firm pressed his hand back down and reminded him. Save it. Save it for Eli. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I carried his words like I had pockets wide enough for all of them. The woman returned. With her came a woman who looked like courage dressed up as a person. I won't describe her. She didn't need my words. She only needed the ring in the airman's hand and the promise it held. Teresa. The airman said. He said her name like a prayer. He always would. She stopped. The air around the three of us changed. It was not a dramatic thing. No music. No sudden hush from unseen crowds. Just a simple shift, the kind that happens when truth walks into the room on quiet feet. I'm Josh, he said. I'm the one who called you last week. I'm the one who promised to bring this back. He held out his hand. He didn't reach forward like he couldn't wait to get rid of the burden. He didn't pull back like he wanted to keep it. He just held the ring steady, right where she could choose to take it. She took it with both hands. She kissed her fingers. She closed her eyes. I told him to stop borrowing his mama's jewelry, she said, and her voice was brave and cracked. He said it made him feel close to me when he was far from home. I told him to keep his silly superstitions. I told him to keep anything that kept him safe. Josh took a step back. I'm sorry, he said. I wish it were different. I wish I could fix this. I can't. I promised him 2 things. I would return this. I would save him my next salute. Teresa opened her eyes. She nodded. I know what that means, she said. I know what it means to promise something like that. I have to go soon, he said. I have to be there when he comes home. I have to stand with him. I have to keep my word. Teresa looked at me for the first time. Are you with him? She asked. In the only way I can be, I said. I told him I'd help him find you. She reached out and squeezed my hand. Thank you, she said. That was all. Ma'am, he said then. And the word was soft and firm and full. May I? Please, she said. He closed his right hand and opened it again. He lifted his arm. He held his palm flat and his fingers straight. He moved with the slow grace of someone who knows every part of this motion matters. He held it there, the way he had told me he would. It wasn't a show. It wasn't for any camera. It was for Eli, who had asked for one last small thing. It was for Teresa, who had handed her boy to a world that did not hold him gently enough. She put her hand over her heart. She didn't cry then. I did. My tears ran hot and surprised, and didn't feel like mine. They felt like the whole night had decided to let go through me. He held his salute until his arm shook. He let it down slow. He pressed his hand to his chest. Thank you, Teresa whispered. You kept your promise. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. I want you to keep one more, she said. If I can, he said. When you stand there tonight, she said. When you stand in the dark and you hear their feet and you feel that weight move past you. You tell him his mama was strong. You tell him I have his ring. You tell him I won't make him let go of anything he doesn't want to let go of yet. Tell him I know how he loved a stupid joke right before bed. Tell him I'm holding all of it with him. Will you promise me that? I promise, he said. I will say those words. She nodded once. Good, she said. Good. I don't know why I did it. But I did it. I said, can I stand with you? It came out small and earnest and a little wild. It wasn't about going to the base. I knew I couldn't. It wasn't about standing on a line where I had no right to be. It was about standing in honor, even if that meant standing still. Josh looked at me and then at Teresa. He seemed to be measuring something I couldn't name. He nodded. You can stand in the way you know how, he said. Stand with your words. That's what you do, right? I opened my mouth and closed it. Yes, I said. That's what I do. Teresa smiled at me in a way that felt like a blessing. Then say it, she said. Say his name. Say it like a light. Eli. I said. Staff Sergeant Eli Carter. What happened next was the part I didn't expect. It wasn't a gotcha or a stunt. It was simple and small, and it changed the shape of the night. A man touched Josh's elbow and cleared his throat. He spoke quiet. I'm sorry to interrupt, he said. I heard there was a misunderstanding earlier. I just wanted to say thank you for being here tonight. It was Johnny. He didn't use the weight of his name to make it bigger than it needed to be. He didn't make it a moment for himself. He looked like someone who had heard enough to know to step gently. Josh stood straight. Sir, he said. I'm the one who should thank you. I didn't mean to make a mess. Johnny shook his head. You didn't, he said. You were honest. You have a promise to keep. I respect that. I didn't know. I wouldn't have asked if I had known. Josh looked down. It's okay, he said. Instinct. You were being kind. Johnny nodded. He put his hand over his heart. Can I ask his name? He asked. Josh swallowed. Eli, he said. Staff Sergeant Eli Carter. Johnny repeated the name, the way Teresa had asked me to repeat it. Soft. Clear. It didn't sound like a line. It didn't sound like a performance. It sounded like a person learning a truth and agreeing to carry it carefully. He looked at Teresa. Ma'am, he said. I'm sorry for your loss. He won't be forgotten. Teresa met his eyes. Thank you, she said. Don't make him a hashtag. Make him a story. They always forget the stories. Johnny nodded again. Yes, ma'am. There are nights that turn by themselves. Like a page you can't stop, and you watch them go and you hope the next one is lighter. And then there are nights that catch and hold. Not with force but with care. This was the second kind. The moment on the line, the simple refusal, had started something loud. But here, in this small circle, the noise fell away and something holy took its place. Johnny stepped back first. I'll let you be, he said. He didn't ask for a photo. He didn't ask for a story for himself. He moved away in a way that made more space instead of less. Josh turned to Teresa. I have to go, he said. The words were tight. Like pulling thread through thick cloth. I know, she said. Go keep your promises. He looked at me. Thank you, he said. I nodded. Do you want a ride to the gate? I asked before I could think better of it. He shook his head. I'm good. They're picking me up. If you want me to say anything later. I said. I can. Or I can say nothing. You can decide. He thought for a second. Say this, he said. Say sometimes someone doesn't return a salute. Because he's saving it for someone who can't raise his hand anymore. Say people make promises that make no sense to anyone else. And those promises hold them in one piece. Say Eli's name. Say it right. I will. I said. He handed me the folded paper. I didn't know why at first. For a second I was afraid to take it. He smiled. Tired and kind. It's a copy, he said. The real one travels with his mom now. This one is for anyone who asks why. I unfolded it and read the first line in my head. It started with "Tell my mom." My eyes blurred. I folded it back up. I'll take care, I said. He walked away. I didn't watch. Some goodbyes are not for eyes. I stood there with Teresa. She held the ring like it was both heavy and light. She looked up at me slow. People will say things, she said. They always do. I know, I said. I will say something too. Say what he asked you to say, she said. Say what matters, leave the rest alone. I went home after that. I told myself I would keep busy. I didn't. I sat and I waited. I watched the clock move toward midnight and felt every minute like a heartbeat. I thought about a runway I couldn't see, and boots I would never hear, and a flag held tight by hands that had practiced that hold 100 times so they could get it right when it mattered. I thought about a young man named Josh, standing straight in a place where the air was probably colder than it should be, and the night was probably louder than he wanted it to be. And I thought about the words he promised Teresa he would say. A message buzzed on my phone a little after midnight. A number I didn't know. A short line. It said, "He is home." I closed my eyes. I whispered thank you to no one and to everyone. I whispered Eli's name again, because it helped to say it. The clip from earlier went wide in the morning. Of course it did. People shared it with captions that missed the point. Some said the airman was ungrateful. Some said he was a hero for standing up to some idea they had made up. Both were wrong. People pick sides like they pick teams and forget what the game even is. I posted the words Josh had given me. I posted them plain. I didn't post a ring. I didn't post Teresa's face. I didn't post anything that would turn their private truth into a trophy. I said this. An airman didn't return a salute last night. He wasn't being rude. He was holding his promise. He was saving his next salute for his best friend, Staff Sergeant Eli Carter, who came home in the dark while most of us slept. He kept his word to a mother that he would return a ring and stand in honor. We break if we make everything into a show. Please let this one be a story, not a clip. Say his name. Say it right. People asked for more. I said less. I answered the same way. Again and again. I said Eli. I said a promise kept. I said a salute is a small movement with a universe inside it. There were still those who wanted a fight. That was not the gift the night offered. I didn't give it to them. Later that day I saw a small note from Johnny's team. It wasn't a press release. It was quiet. It said, "We have learned the airman refused the salute to keep a personal promise. We respect his choice and honor the fallen." It was enough. It didn't try to make anyone look good. It just turned the light where it belonged. Donations to the fund rose. That was nice. But that wasn't the point either. The point was that the story stopped being a 2-second moment of someone stepping back. It became a full night with weight and shape, and a bright line of promise running through it. I kept thinking about salutes for days after. About how we throw them around as symbols and forget they came from somewhere hard. About how a hand raised to a brow can mean 1,000 things. And sometimes the most powerful version of that motion is the one you don't make. We live in a world that wants everything quick and loud. There is great power in saying, "Not yet." There is great love in saying, "I promised." I thought about how often we judge what we don't know. I thought about how we see 5 seconds and think we understand the whole. I thought about how there is always a ring we don't see in someone's palm. A folded note pressed flat. A name we never hear unless we lean in and let the quiet tell us. I sent a message to Josh after a week. Just a simple one. I said, "You did right." He wrote back, "She told me to tell you she keeps the ring in her pocket now. She says it taps against her hand when she walks. It's like he is telling her not to forget her keys." I cried again. The good kind this time. The kind that lets a little bit of the heavy out, so you can keep carrying the rest. A few nights later, I walked outside alone. I put my hand to my brow. Not a salute. Not exactly. Just a gesture to feel the shape of it. Then I lowered my hand and pressed it over my heart. the way I had seen Teresa do. I whispered, Eli. I whispered, Josh. I whispered, promise. We are made of the small things we keep. We are made of the yeses we say when no one is watching. We are made of the moments when we step back. Not because we do not care, but because we care so much we cannot spend even a single breath on the wrong thing. If you ever see someone refuse a public honor, pause before you judge them. They might be saving it. They might be carrying something tender you cannot see. There might be a mother on the far side of the room, waiting for a ring that is the only small piece of her boy she can hold. And a young man who promised to be the bridge between what was and what is now. That night re-taught me something I should have never forgotten. A salute is not a habit. It's a vow. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is lower your hand, hold your breath, and save your salute for the person who needs it most. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched you, please like the video. Drop a comment with your thoughts. Subscribe for more stories like this. And share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps these stories find the people who need them.